What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. Today, we have our NFL player projections episode for week 5. I'm your host, Chris Raybon, and here to break it down with me, one of the top fantasy rankers in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Had another great week, up like 20 units on the year now. I saw you had another amazing week too. So how you doing?
Feeling good, man. My only loss was I bought out of my Chargers Raiders, which was smart, yeah. Because I had the Raiders at like 6, and then I was like, nah. So I just bought out. It was actually a shit show on like as we were preparing for the 6-pack. I was like, wait a minute, I can't take the Raiders anymore. So yeah, it was. But besides that,
to be fair, I mean that ended up being like a brutal bad beat. It's actually amazing the Raiders almost covered that. Yeah. Given how Aiden O'Connell played, he got sacked like 9 times, had 3 brutal turnovers. Other than that, he looked great though.
Yeah, it was. It was a wild ride. If I had money on that game, I would have been all over the place because it's like the Chargers chargering, and then the Raiders just trying to. Yeah,
That was a nightmare, but I'm sure the next time he gets to start, he'll be a lot better. I promise.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess Jimmy's in the protocol, so we'll see if he's out of it this week. They play the Monday night game, I believe it, right? Mm-hmm. No, Sunday night. Is it? No, yeah, it's a Monday night game. Yep,
that's
Raiders, Packers,
Cowboys,
night,
Niners. So that's a great game.
Yep. So on this show, of course, we will run through our top 5 at each position. We'll discuss the players we're high and low on, and we will throw out some player props. So Sean, let's start with quarterback. Who are your top 5 QBs for week 5?
So I got Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson at QB4, and then Tua.
Yep, I got Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Tua, and then Richardson at QB4.
Nice.
So same top 5. Who you high
on? I'm high on Anthony Richardson. He has flashed his top 5 upside already this year. He's QB4 in points per game, despite only playing half of week 2. And a lot of that is his rushing upside. He has a rushing touchdown in all 3 of his starts now. And this matchup's interesting because, it's more of a pass funnel matchup against the Titans, which, Anthony Richardson not going to throw for a ton of yards. But they really haven't faced a quarterback with as much rushing upside as Richardson. And, they do have a good run defense. I guess Deshaun Watson is the closest player to Anthony Richardson. He posted a top 10 week in week 3. So I just love Richardson's upside every week, but especially this week at home against the Titans. So yeah, he's my QB4 to open the week.
Yeah, he's definitely a top 5 quarterback, I think, this week. I was watching that game pretty close because, of course, I had the Rams, so I was pretty disgusted that they let him come all the way back. But I thought that the Colts could have helped out Richardson a little more. There's a couple of drops on some passes, so I think the passing will improve as the year goes on.
Yeah,
Downs gets more comfortable, and some of those tight ends they started to flash last week. I'm high on Sam Howell, another young quarterback. He's my QB 11 to open the week. He's QB 15 in ECR, and just going against this Bears defense, man. I mean, what else is there to say? And making every quarterback look like a future Hall of Famer. Russell Wilson had a very good game, clean game against the Bears defense last week. So, Howell played well, hung in there against Philly after that brutal outing against Buffalo. So I do think he's going to take some chances, throw the ball down the field. And I think there should be a lot of openings against his Bears defense. That's, probably the worst in the league. They've given up the 4th most points to quarterbacks, but 10 touchdown passes, that's 2nd most. Only 2 interceptions for the Bears defense. So, Sam Howell for me this week. I have him as a top 12 QB.
Nice. I didn't even realize that he's my QB9, so I guess I'm super high on him too. It's kind of a weird week at quarterback. We finally have bye weeks. And so like Herbert, Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson are out. So yeah, the low end QB1 range is kind of wide open. Sam Howell's right there for me.
Who you low on?
I'm low on Jared Goff. Speaking of low end QB1s, he's actually outside of my top 12. So he's my QB 13. QB8 ECR to open the week. And this isn't a knock on Jared Goff at all, but the Lions have just been a very run-heavy team so far. They have the second lowest pass rate over expected on the season. And this week they're 9-point favorites over the Panthers. So they probably just won't need Goff to throw, for over 250 yards to win this game. Plus the Lions defense has been really good. They rank 5th in DVOA. So the makeup of this team is a little bit different than maybe last year. Although, he does tend to concede rushing touchdowns in the red zone to David Montgomery, similar to Jamal Williams last year. So for a quarterback that doesn't offer much in terms of rushing upside, a matchup like this where they're going to be able to win by leaning on the run potentially just has him a bit lower than other quarterbacks. So he's all the way down to, QB 13 for me to open the week.
He's actually my QB 17, so I'm even lower.
There you go.
But yeah, it's tough when this Panther team has kind of been a run funnel too. They're a lot better against the pass than they are against the run. They had that pick 6 off Kirk Cousins and got him almost knocked. I thought he was going to leave the game. He got blocked the hell out of the pitcher on the run back. But not a great week for Goff. For me, it is Trevor Lawrence. I have him QB 12. He's QB 10 to open the week, so not too low, but I do think this is a tougher matchup for him against the Buffalo Bills, and he just really hasn't shown a ton, or maybe it's the receivers too. I know they're not helping him out, ton of drops, but he's just not putting up big numbers in any start. And now you're going to face one of the best defenses in the league that held the Dolphins down a week after they scored 70. They put up, what was it, 2021 against the Bills. The Bills are the top team against quarterbacks, allowing the fewest points per game to the position, just 3 touchdowns, passing the quarterbacks all year, and 777 passing yards. So not a great matchup. We'll see if Zay Jones is healthy, but it just been a tough go for Lawrence as far as putting up those big numbers, and I don't think anything changes against the Bills in London this week. So if you have like an early – if you have Lawrence, remember to get up early because there might be a quarterback on the wire or something. You might not want to start him this week. Okay, you went 2-0 on props again last week. I went 1-1. It's your prop for quarterbacks.
Okay. So one of the interesting things I found when projecting QBs this week was Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy's passing yard projection, because it's a tough matchup for each quarterback. They're both facing the opposing defenses, but it might be a more pass heavy game script for them because it should be a close game. So curious to hear. I haven't projected the same. So who do you think will have more passing yards this week, Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy?
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. Dak. I gotta go Dak. I have Dak in the 250s. I still have Purdy in the high 230s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and part of that is I think Dallas is a little more likely to trail in this game.
True.
So, yeah, we'll go Dak here. It's I think that defense, San Francisco's defense both of these defenses are really good, but overall, San Francisco's been shown that they can rely on the run a bit more. So yeah, I'll go Dak.
Where do you have them ranked? I have them both outside my top 18.
Yeah, Dak 16, Purdy 21. So yeah,
jeez.
It's it should be a good game, but
yeah,
offensively not the greatest.
Exactly.
As a reminder, the Action Network podcast is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION when signing up to get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Who are your top 5 running backs this week, Sean?
So it's Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, and Tony Pollard.
I got McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Bijan,
nice.
Jacobs, and Henry.
So that's why your Jared Goff projection. So
I guess so. Yeah,
Montgomery's getting all the touchdowns.
Yep. I mean, this has been a thing now, like you said, for 2 years. Williams was doing the same thing to Goff last year as well. But who you high on?
I'm high on Khalil Herbert against the Commanders. He's my RB19. ECR has him RB24. And right when it looked like, Roshan Johnson could potentially leapfrog Herbert, Herbert went off for a 103-yard rushing game. He caught a touchdown. And he was my favorite bet on talent in that like RB 30 to 35 range this year. I do appreciate Roshan Johnson as a talent. He's a talented rookie running back, but Herbert is talented himself. He led the league in yards per carry over expected per attempt last year. This year he ranks 13th. He's a very, very good running back. And typically he's gonna play the first two series for the Bears every game. Then Roshan gets a series, and they kind of go at the high end from there. And just Herbert ran away with it. So I like him to continue this, this week. He probably won't dominate the work the way he did in week 4 most weeks. But I was encouraged to see his receiving usage was up a bit. And Justin Fields has been much more willing to check down to his running backs this year. He's targeted running backs at the 3rd highest rate this year. So just based on that, there's a chance Herbert could average, 2 to 3 catches a game. So even though this could be more of a 50-50 committee going forward, I still think Herbert has the upper hand. And I'm viewing him as like a mid-range to low-end RB2 this week.
It's scary, though, because, you have to kind of do your offensive schedule adjustments because the Broncos defense and running backs, remember the week before it was Raheem Mostert went crazy, and then last week it's it's so hard. Anyone who plays the Broncos, their stats are going to be so skewed. It's going to be so hard to project the next
that's what I'm saying. We can't expect Herbert to rush for 100 yards every week, and I'm not calling for that this week. But just when it comes to this rotation, it's almost like Herbert is the David Montgomery role right now, and Roshan Johnson is the Khalil Herbert role.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm viewing it. Whereas, to be honest, I have Herbert in a few leagues. Last week I was afraid. It looked like Roshan Johnson was going to leapfrog Herbert. He was trending up, and then last week, Herbert ran away with it. So yeah, the efficiency will be a bit lower against Commanders this week, but still very encouraged with Herbert's usage last week.
There's some weird reports last week where it's Roshan Johnson's gonna kind of draw even with Herbert. Didn't happen. And what was the other report? Ezekiel Elliott was gonna have more.
Oh yeah.
Stevenson, that didn't happen either.
Cam Akers was gonna, or they were gonna go with the hot hand with Madison and Akers, and Madison was the hot hand. So Madison had a good game again.
Yeah, I mean that was at least a little less. Come on, it's Cam. I mean, Cam Akers actually had a pretty decent game though. He looked good.
They both had a good game.
Yeah.
Again,
no, Madison looked good. Yeah, exactly. Their run defense is super shaky. Okay. I am high on David Montgomery. He's my RB2. He's RB12. In ECR, Carolina is allowing the 4th most fantasy points to opposing backfields, the 2nd most rushing touchdowns to opposing backfields, which is big when you look at Montgomery. And he came back off an injury. Weren't even sure how healthy he was going to be, and had over 30 carries, and now he gets the 10-day rest. So, Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he's a clear, kind of passing down, kind of second fiddle guy, and Montgomery's going to continue to lead this backfield. But this is a game where I do have Detroit getting more rushing attempts than usual because 9-point favorites. So we really haven't seen them that big of favorites this season. So love Montgomery this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that they want him to be the workhorse back. When he got injured, he was saying he's week to week, and Dan Campbell's like, no, he's day to day. But it's good to see everybody complaining about Jahmyr Gibbs. We were talking about that. He's going to be sort of the pass catching back, maybe get some rush attempts between the 20s, but Montgomery has the more fantasy friendly role with these goal line carries, and he's probably going to see most of the work on early downs. But it's been even better than expected. I mean, he's a top 10 back with Gibbs healthy, but imagine if Gibbs were to miss any time. I mean, you have him inside your top 3, but he'd be like a top 5 back every week if Gibbs were to miss time. So he has been by far one of the most valuable picks in the draft this year.
And he looks better than Gibbs. Gibbs, for all that speed, Gibbs hasn't, he had a couple of flashes I think in week 1, but like overall, Gibbs hasn't looked like a guy where it's like, oh man, we need to get this guy more touches. Montgomery's looked like the better back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and he's Montgomery, let's face it, is more talented than Jamal Williams. I mean, Montgomery's still in his prime at 26, very good back. So this is just has not been surprising at all to see him thrive in this offense.
all right, who you low on?
I'm low on James Conner, which is weird because seems like every week I'm high on him, but he's my RB 26 this week. ECR has him RB 19. You know, they're at home against the Bengals, and it's crazy to think, you know, the Cards are only +3 against the Bengals, but that's, you know, how bad the Bengals have been with Joe Burrow attempting to play through this calf injury. So, you know, the Cardinals could be a bit more run heavy than expected. You know, they're, like I said, they're only +3 underdogs. And James Conner has been pretty efficient on the ground this year. The Bengals ranked 30th in DVOA against the run, which is crazy because they ranked inside the top 10 last year. DJ Reader's healthy, so not sure why they're playing so poor. Have to imagine it's just a sample size issue. They gave up big games to Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, which is pretty forgivable, in my opinion. So for me, the main concern with Conner is just his receiving usage. He's only averaged 41% routes run rate the past 3 games. And Josh Dobbs, you know, he has a ton of rushing upside. He prefers a scramble as opposed to dumping it off to back. So he's targeted running backs at the 7th lowest rate. So just with this usage, you know, Connor's probably only going to see 1 to 2 catches a game. So he's going to be pretty touchdown dependent this week with the team that has the 7th lowest team total this week. So I'm just not high on Conner that much this week. So like I said, he's just outside, you know, my RB2 range. He's more of an RB3 flex for me, whereas ECR has him as like a solid mid-range RB2.
Yeah, he seems like a DFS tournament play because, I mean, the way the Bengals have been playing, I could see them getting behind in this game.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the run D, I mean, I have to go back and watch some all 22, but the only thing I could think of is, you know, they lost all those guys in the secondary, especially at safety, and they have like a much younger secondary, so they might just be dropping guys further back and you know, kind of playing the pass. I have to go watch more to confirm that, but yeah, it just seems like that would really be Bates. The only issue because personnel wise, other like in the front 7, they're pretty much the same.
So you're just thinking with like Bates and Belgon, they're just
they might just be protecting against softer boxes. I gotta check that though, but that would be my thought.
But yeah, 30th in DVOA, which is crazy.
Yeah, like 26th in the EPA per play too. So it hasn't been good. I'm low on James Cook this week. He's my RB20. He's RB13 in ECR, and this is just because number one, I have a lot of respect for the Jags run defense. They've been very good for the better part of the last couple of years. This year, they're 4th best in terms of EPA per play allowed. They have the 9th fewest rushing yards allowed to opposing backfields. And Cook, you know, we really haven't seen him fully take over that featured back role. They're still mixing in 3 guys, Cook, Harris, and Latavius Murray. And so Cook hasn't gotten more than 17 carries in a game. He's right around 56% of the backfield carries. So, you know, it's not quite as high as we want it for Cook. And in a tough matchup, you know, he kind of really bailed his owners out last week with a rushing touchdown. He only had 12 carries for 29 yards. And then he also had a 48-yard reception. So he's definitely explosive. And he's continuing to get the majority of the passing game work he's running around about half the dropbacks. But overall, there's just, you know, with Kamara back and, you know, Saquon potentially playing this week, there's just more backs that you project for more snaps than a James Cook. And this is a tough D. So Cook's my RB20, and that's 7 spots lower.
Yeah, it seems like every week there's a mixed bag to take away from James Cook. Like this week, he finally got a goal line carry.
Yep.
But like you said, like he needed that long 48-yard catch to salvage as well. But, you know, his routes run rate was like low 30s. Latavius Murray was playing most of the third down, I think the 2-minute offense. So it's just been a mixed bag, but for whatever reason, we haven't seen him like inherit a true workhorse role. So yeah, he's definitely more of a low end RB2 unless something changes.
Let's go. Let's go Raheem Mostert because his usage has been very interesting to me. HN has usurped him. It seems like in terms of the rushing.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 weeks in a row, Achane has gotten more carries. So I am going to set most, but this is the Giants defense now, so
Yes.
they could both have plenty of work. So I'm going to set Mostert's rushing yardage at 48.5.
Well, I wrote down 52.5 as my guess. That's a good line. I think Jeff Wilson's expected to be back this week.
Oh God!
So maybe
Is he
they
gonna
get
be
him
inactive,
a couple
though?
snaps. Yeah, I don't know.
Like
if they're up by
Ahmed,
20 plus.
Yeah, they could deactivate Brooks, I guess. Although I think he plays special teams.
I'm gonna go over, but slightly. Okay. Like you said, it's the Giants. Mostert can just break a long one, and this one's toast. So I'll go over, but that's a pretty good line. Where do you have Achane ranked this week? He's my RB7. Is he in your top 10 yet?
Yeah, RB9. One spot behind ETN, one spot ahead of Kyron. So, yep.
Crazy how fast he ascended to the top 10. But
he's just very good. It's just he's
perfect fit
breaking a long
offense.
run. Yeah. No, I love what they're doing with all that speed. It's going to be really tough for defenses, especially come playoff time when everyone's banged up, and there's probably still going to be fast as hell.
Yeah.
All right, receiver top 5. Who you
got? So I got Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Puka Nacua, assuming Cooper Kupp's out again this week, Devontae Adams, and Stephon Diggs.
I got Jefferson, Hill, Chase, Diggs, Adams. So pretty standard. Nice. Nacua is my. I'll talk about him in a second.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Who you high
on? I'm high on Hollywood Brown. He's my wide receiver 18. ECR has him wide receiver 27, and Brown was a solid sleeper pick outside of the top 30 receivers. I know we were talking about him quite a bit with DeAndre Hopkins no longer with the team. He was going to be the clear number one target. The only real concern was just around the quarterback play with Kyler missing potentially, the first half of the season. But Josh Dobbs has been playing solid enough, at least, to, supply Brown with, mid-range wide receiver 2 value. He currently ranks wide receiver 18 on the season. The underlying usage certainly backs it up. He's averaging a 96% routes run rate and also seeing a target on 24% of those routes. So he has at least 5 catches in each of the last 3 games, has at least a touchdown or 90-plus receiving yards in the last 3 games. So he just has a nice floor-ceiling combo. I just view him as a solid wide receiver 2 right now, and ECR still has him as more of a, wide receiver 3.
Yeah, absolutely. He's my wide receiver 17, so I'm right there with you. And that, last week he was playing through a thumb injury or something of that sort. So the fact that he was still able to produce, and Dobbs looks better than expected, like you said. So totally agree. This is the number 1 receiver there. The rookie Wilson is looking good too. So he might do some things as the year progresses as well. But Brown is a clear number 1. I am high on Puka Nacua, and I have him wide receiver 6. So I guess you're even higher, but he's the wide receiver 10 in ECR. Philadelphia has allowed the 5th most points to opposing wide receivers, so I don't view this as a super tough matchup here. And I do think Philadelphia is going to be able to put some points up on this Ram defense. So the Rams are going to have to probably be in comeback mode and a lot of pass volume once again. And as long as Kupp's out, I think Nacua continues to see the football, and he's setting records now. Like there's just nobody that's been doing what he's been doing through the first 4 games of a career. He's leading the league in receptions. He has 39 receptions for 501 yards. The 1 touchdown was a walk-off. He's averaging 13 targets per game. I mean, there's nothing not to like here with Nacua. He's averaging 9.8 catches. He's 0.2 of a catch away from 10 double-digit catches a game. Like, that is just absurd. So, Puka.
And what's up with Kupp? He's returning to practice this week, right? Do you think they just sit him out? I have no idea if he's playing this week.
He could play. I mean, I think he'll definitely return to practice. I'm sure, the way they play, the receivers have been playing, they probably don't want to rush it. So, I don't have a projected back in yet. Although even if I do, I think probably Atwell would be the one to drop. Puka would probably still be a top 10, top 15 wide receiver. So, but yeah, that's as of now. I think he is gonna. They're gonna try to practice and see how he looks. Who are you low on?
I'm low on Christian Kirk at Buffalo. He's my wide receiver 34 right now, wide receiver 24 ECR. And he's been on a tear the last 3 weeks as the wide receiver 13. I kind of alluded to that. As long as Zay Jones is out, Christian Kirk gets a huge boost. It allows Kirk to play in 2 wide receiver sets. We saw in week 1 and in the preseason, Kirk is off the field in 2 wide receiver sets. He only plays in 3 wide sets. That's Zay Jones and Calvin Ridley are in 2 wide sets. Plus, when Zay Jones is out, Kirk's target share gets a huge boost too. So I have no idea if Zay Jones is returning this week. So if he does, that right now I'm projecting Zay Jones to return. That's why my Christian Kirk projection's a bit lower. Plus, it's a tough matchup against the Bills, who rank 2nd in DVOA. Although they just lost Tre'Davious White, which is a big blow. Jordan Poyer is questionable after missing last week. So their secondary could take a step back. But either way, this is still a very tough matchup, like you alluded to with Trevor Lawrence. So just be careful of Christian Kirk. If you're in leagues that just start 2 wide receivers, he might be more of a bench this week if Zay Jones suits up. So just something to monitor.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm actually low on Calvin Ridley, and I'm actually, I guess I'm higher than you on Kirk. I have Kirk ranked ahead of Ridley because that's just how they've been producing so far. Ridley, he had that really good game to start the year, and we're like, okay, he looks good, and now it's like he hasn't looked as good, and the numbers, there's nothing really to hang your hat on anymore. It's like you kind of just got to project him where he's been playing, and his target per route rate, even with Zay Jones missing, the last game and most of the last 2. Ridley's target per route rate is just 18.5%. That's about 5% lower than Christian Kirk's. It's lower than Evan Ingram's. This is his first year with the team, so we don't have, we have to, using priors to come into the year. Obviously, some of it was based on what he did with Atlanta, but now we're 4 games in. Ridley's run over 167 routes now. So, we have, 146 routes he's running, 146 routes. So we have a decent amount of data now. And I'm a little concerned about the target per route rate to have him as a top, 20 wide receiver. So he's my wide receiver 26 to open the week. And it's 10 spots below ECR. So, I'm waiting. Thankfully got the touchdown against Atlanta and London, but overall still a tough matchup for Buffalo. They're just schemed very well, and they missed White for a good part of last year, and they were still a very good defense. So, it's doesn't look great for Ridley. Hope we can bounce back, but as of now, I don't see it as a top 20 guy this week. Okay, this is your prop. What you got?
Oh my God, I'm going to have so much fun with this. I don't know what line I'm going to set yet, but we're going to go with Jameson Williams receiving yards against the Panthers. The suspension was lowered by 1 game, so he returns this week. So anybody that took him wide receiver 45 got him a week early. I know we were shitting on him based on his draft position all season, but even once he returned, he's not really a lock to be the number 2 receiver. So curious to hear where you're projecting him, but man, I'm gonna go with his median. He's such a tough player to project. But over under 24.5 receiving yards.
Ooh, I have his average at 26, so that's an under.
That's
an under. It's a good line though, because I have him. Let's see, right, closer to 2. Closer to 2. About about 1.9 for 20. No, 1.7 for 26. So it's.
Who do you have him replacing? Khalif?
Marvin Jones.
Marvin
Jones may be a healthy scratch this week.
Yeah, he's barely running routes anyway. Okay,
he's been terrible.
Yes,
objectively worse than Jameson Williams could ever be. So
Agreed.
he's got that going for him. But yeah, so I have Khalif pretty much running the same, and Jameson up at about 45%, whatever Marvin's been, about 45% of the routes. So
we're similar then,
which is still higher than he's ever played in his entire professional career. So going out on a limb here, if Jameson Williams actually gets the 2 catches, I mean that would be something.
Yes.
It'd also be the first time in his career. So. But I don't think he's going to be the number 2 receiver. Josh Reynolds has been very good in that role, but I do think with as bad as Marvin's playing, he'll at least kind of split that role with Khalif with a chance to kind of get to a similar route run rate as Reynolds, which is around 80%. So there's definitely some room for improvement here. It's probably bad, but this week is just not a great passing week for the Lions either. So.
Are you going over under?
Yeah, under.
Oh, under.
I thought I said that. Yeah. Because like the average 26, the median would be, especially for a volatile player like him, it's like his ceiling is going to be like way higher, and then his floor is going to be almost 0. It really is 0.
Right.
So
right.
I'll go. I think it's going to be a little skewed.
If anything, this is a word of caution for people just antsy to get him in your lineup. You wouldn't do it, right?
No, I have him wide receiver like 75. Like he's.
I'm in a league where you could potentially start 7 receivers, maybe in that league, maybe.
I made a joke in our Action Network NFL Slack that James Williams. Couldn't wait to start him in leagues that need 9 wide receivers. So you're close. You're close.
I'm
you
almost
got a couple
in a
more
league like that.
Yeah. He's my wide receiver 74.
Well, like DFS tournaments, like huge GPPs, maybe, but I'm sure people will be thinking about that anyway. But he is just a high upside play with like you said, a floor of 0. He could easily have 0 catches this week.
More memories are made when you're there for live NFL action. And when you need tickets, our friends at Ticketmaster have got you covered. As the official marketplace of the NFL, Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat. Their interactive seat map gives you 360-degree previews of your section to make sure you have the best view of all of those pivotal plays. And if your plans change, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze, and you can even customize your Ticketmaster app to rep your favorite team's colors. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/NFL. Tight ends, who you got? Top 5.
So I got Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, and Sam Laporta.
Nice. I got Kelce, Hawkinson, Andrews, Tyler Higbee, and Evan Ingram.
Oh, can't complain about Higbee there. Where do you have Darren Waller?
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's tight end 7, but he's hanging on by a thread. He's kind of benefiting from all the tight ends in that range being kind of crapshoots, but what a disappointment. A healthy Darren Waller just not able to produce. Very disappointing.
Yeah, I mean the Giants offense is just without Andrew Thomas, it is just it's rough.
Brutal
for that offense. Who you high on a tight end?
So I'm back on the Zach Ertz train. He's my tight end 9. His ECR is tight end 13. And after week 3, it looked like Trey McBride might start eating into Ertz playing time. You know, Ertz saw his routes on rate dip down to 64%. McBride's jumped up to 32%. However, in week 4, Ertz grabbed that lead roll right back, and his routes run rate were all the way back up to 87%. Cashed in with a 6-catch, 53-yard game. Saw 10 targets. So he sneaks inside my top 10. Like I said, the tight end position is a disaster right now. And Ertz is, he's seeing that playing time, seeing the targets. So as long as he's running a route over 80% of Dobbs dropbacks, I think we can trust him as a top tight end, 10 tight end this week.
Yeah, he's been the Cardinals in general looks like they're game planning. Some guys like change a little from week to week, but overall, it looks like Ertz is 3 out of every 4 at least dropbacks, like 75% or higher is usually going to be his route to run rate every game. I think he was kind of an underrated guy when I coming into the year. I was like, well, if he's going to play from week 1, I mean. Tight ends don't age as like poorly as wide receivers. I guess it's not like they were ever using their athleticism outside of a guy like maybe Kelce. Ertz has kind of picked up where he left off, and he's a top 12 tight end for me as well this week.
It's just weird. He's holding off Trey McBride, who's one of the top tight ends in that 2022 class, similar to Dallas Goedert in the Eagles days. But like you said, Zach Ertz, he still looks good. He's only 32,
Yeah.
and the age curves are a little bit different tight end. So he's playing well. So I have no reason to think he's gonna like get leapfrogged by McBride now.
Yeah, I mean, once you have like I understand the draft pedigree, but it's like once you see a guy in a league, it's like Jameson Williams. It's like you can only like
True.
rely on that draft pedigree for so long. It's like we've seen a year plus of McBride, and there's nothing to indicate that he's better than Zach Ertz. Not if he might not be bad, but he's definitely not better than Zach Ertz. Like
right, who's like a fringe Hall of Famer type of tight end. So
right, yeah. Well, he did get a ring right with the Eagles.
Oh yeah, he for sure got a ring. Yeah,
he's one of those guys that could sneak in. Got the ring. He's gonna have a ton of numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like he could play for 5-6 more years at least. So we'll see. I'm high on Higbee, as you probably guessed.
Nice.
He's my tight end 5, tight end 11 in ECR. Philly's allowing the second most points to tight end. Higbee's playing on 85% of the dropbacks. He's running a route that's one of the highest in the league among tight ends. Kelsey was at 83% last week, so that shows you just how much usage Tyler Higbee is getting. He's in my tight end 4. Sorry, I think I said 5. He's my tight end 4. So yeah, I have Higbee projected for 4.5 catches, 43 yards, and about a 0.3 touchdowns. So tight ends doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
In what I believe should be a pass-heavy game script for the Rams this week. Love Higbee against Philly. Who you love?
It was interesting.
Sorry.
His Achilles injury got better after he got his contract.
Yeah.
Something to monitor. Our boy Kyron Williams is dealing with a hip injury.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, he might still play. It's only Tuesday. But if he were to miss, those are probably targets that probably could be going to Higbee. So if Kyron's out, that could, boost Higbee's projection even more.
Fire up the Ronnie Rivers. No.
Oh yeah. Or maybe we see Zach Evans finally, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he's been a healthy scratch the first 4 weeks, yeah, I'm not trusting McVay. We know how McVay.
Yeah, I think they're
he
just
takes a stand on a running back.
They're just redshirting him this year for sure.
All right, who you low on?
I'm low on Dalton Schultz. He's my tight end 23. ECR has him like tight end 16. He had a good week last week. He was the tight end 5. He had 3 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown basically salvaged his week. But the Texans used a ton of 21 personnel last week, which is a formation Schultz doesn't typically play in. Maybe that was just the game plan for the Steelers. But either way, he only finished with a 42% routes run rate. And he's only seen a target on 13% of his routes. I know heading into the season, we were trying to figure out who's going to be the top target in this offense. It could be Schultz, but CJ Stroud has been relying on these 3 receivers that have been all playing incredible. I'll even admit that Robert Woods is playing well, but
yep.
Your boy Tank Dell is tearing it up.
Yeah, Nico's
my guy. The past few years, finally he broke out. Nico Collins. So it's these 3 wide receivers is the passing attack. So Dalton Schultz had a good game last week, but I would not put him in your lineups this week, even as much of a disaster this tight end position is. You can't trust him. So I'm low on Dalton Schultz this week.
Yeah, his touchdown wasn't from Stroud, right? It was from.
Oh, it wasn't.
Who was that?
Oh, was it.
Singletary. Ooh,
yeah, it was that 2-yard thing.
It was definitely a trick play. Now I'm curious. Hold on.
Yeah, that's probably the game I was watching the least.
Yep, Singletary.
Yeah.
Oh, I was watching that game. I had Texans, and I had the Texans plus 3.
Yeah, 6 yards.
Very interested in that game.
Yeah, but at a certain point, you knew that was cash in.
Yeah. No, I mean,
but Stroud, how did Stroud look?
Amazing.
Look phenomenal.
Yeah,
he doesn't have an offensive line still.
No, it's been. I mean, the play calling Stroud. I mean, he had one bad play that I saw where it was really TJ Watt just wrecked the play. It was like a 4th and 1, and he had a man open, and he just short armed it because Watt kind of got the pressure. But I mean, that's TJ Watt. You can forgive that.
Yeah.
But no, Stroud has looked amazing. Schultz just not playing enough. Not on the field enough. I'm low on George Kittle. I talked about this before the season. Like George Kittle was the one whose target rate went down when McCaffrey came, and I find it very concerning that last week Deebo Samuel did not draw a target. He was like a decoy because he was hurt, and George Kittle still didn't really do much of anything. So I have him tight end 8 this week, and he's still a top 5 tight end in ECR, but tough matchup against the Cowboys, and he's just not getting the production. I think Deebo could be back to closer to full health this week. Ayuk is just playing unreal this year.
He's a monster.
Yeah, so it's just another one of these kind of disappointing tight ends. I don't, he could have a big week any week, but last year he really kind of saved his fantasy production with a lot of touchdowns, which historically he hasn't been a big touchdown guy. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of concerning that hasn't really blown up too much this year, and guys have been in and out of the lineup. Ayuk's missed games, Debo's had a 0 target game, so yeah, low on Kittle. Is it? That's my prop, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Let's go Kyle Pitts, receiving yards.
Oh God.
Yep. It's been a frustrating season if you drafted Kyle Pitts, and if you still haven't traded him, it's probably even more frustrating. I am going to set his receiving yardage prop at 36.5.
Well, I wrote 35.5 for the record. So
Nice.
Another great line. Look, he's either going to finish with like 20 or 80. So I'll lean under just because this is a game that they could be in a leading game strip, although the Texans are feisty. So, I mean, his underlying usage is good. He's seeing targets downfield, so he might only need a couple catches to get there. But I think his median is a bit lower. So I'm a yard under you, so I'll go under.
Okay.
But he could. That's the Kyle Pitts experience. He's going to have 4 and then he'll have a big game. Everybody will be talking about how talented he is, and the season's turning around. But he's just a boom bust weekly option, kind of like George Kittle is, like you mentioned. Like, as long as everybody's healthy, it's just going to be hard for him to be consistent. So he just has a wide range of outcomes. Unfortunately, he's one of the more talented tight ends, but we just can't bank on him week to week. So yeah, great line, but I'm going to go under.
I mean, we say we can't bank on him week to week, but Jonnu Smith has caught 5 passes in back-to-back weeks, so it's clearly doable. So this is
Jonnu Smith is who we want Kyle Pitts to be.
Right? Yeah, it's unreal. Okay, it's really crazy. That's gonna do it for our Week 5 NFL Player Projections episode of the Action Network podcast, presented by BetMGM. For more great fantasy content from Sean and I, be sure to check out a full fantasy preview episode out right now on the Fantasy Flex podcast channel. And if you're into betting, be sure to check out my weekly betting preview episode every Thursday with Stuckey right here on the Action Network podcast channel. ActionNetwork.com for all of our NFL fantasy and betting content. FantasyLabs.com for our DFS tools and models. Sean's on Twitter, on X, formerly Twitter, at @the_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this 20.